Hey guys, welcome back to Theme Park Fantasy. Today we're going to be answering your questions as to why you should stay on Walt Disney World property. But before we begin, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a thing from us. Alright, staying on Walt Disney World property is certainly a very fun and unique experience. It's not the cheapest in the world, but it is one that I highly recommend for anybody staying and going to Disney because it is just such an amazing experience. There are a few reasons why I think this is an amazing experience and why you and your family should seriously consider it if you're going here. And let's get right into that. First off, transportation. Navigating Disney World can be a bit overwhelming the first time you come here. It can actually be a bit overwhelming if you've come here a few times, but one of the great things about the Disney World resorts is that you don't have to navigate it. There's transportation from the resorts to any of the parks, Disney Springs, or the water parks. And that is accomplished a few different ways. One, you have the buses. Almost every resort has a bus that goes to one of the parks now, with the exception of a few that we're going to mention in a little bit here. Buses are still the mainstay of transportation around Walt Disney World. They are built to be able to capacity for families. They are able to accommodate people in wheelchairs or scooters. There is certainly no issue in being able to get large groups of people around. It's usually a 15-minute wait time for the buses. Sometimes that does get a little bit extended on really busy days, but overall that's usually what you can expect to wait to get to the various parks, which really isn't that bad overall. You know, you just gotta make sure you leave a little bit ahead of time if you're scheduled for stuff when you're heading out to the parks. Then you have boats. The boat service varies by what resort you're at and what parks or areas connect to those bodies of water. For example, the Port Orleans Resort connects only to the Disney Springs via the Sassagoula River, but you can get to Hollywood Studios and Epcot from Boardwalk via boat. With that thought in mind, you know, if that's something you'd like to do, just gently cruising over the water to your destinations, certainly check out your resort and see what they have for that option. The last one, the one that Disney really has gone in full throttle into, and I can see being expanded if it continues to do well, is the Disney Skyliner. The Skyliner currently connects to 4 of their resorts and connects to a few of the parks. It certainly seems like a cool concept. I have not done it yet, but a lot of people really love them. It's a fun way to go over Walt Disney World because you're actually up in a cart over Walt Disney World across the sky, and then you get to your resort. It's very efficient because you don't really have to wait for, like I say, the bus to get there and then to offload, unload. It's a pretty seamless process for the Skyliner that seems to work really well. Alright, and that pretty much covers transportation, but just keep in mind too that if you ever need to get somewhere, you can do things like Uber and those style of pickup delivery services from the resorts. You also have the Mears taxis are very common down here, just in case you need something extra or you need to get somewhere that the Disney transportation doesn't go. Then you have themed rooms. Themed rooms are becoming increasingly more common now in Disney. They are usually rooms mostly in mid-grade resorts, but you do find a little bit of theming in some of the luxury resorts. Good example of this is the Princess and the Frog room located over at Port Orleans Riverside. It is a room entirely themed to Princess with the Frog. It's got purple bedding, the purple carpet. There's a few other Disney Prince and Princess items around inside, like their gifts that were given to the characters from that movie. It's a really cool room. It's fun to stay in. The other one is the Pirates room located at the Caribbean Resort, which is also really well themed. The beds are themed as if they were pirate ships. You have sails and treasure maps all over the room. They're really cool experiences. Whether you're a kid or a kid at heart, I think that a lot of people can appreciate these rooms, and it's certainly a very fun experience when staying on Walt Disney World property. And going off of that, let's go to themed hotels. Technically, all the Disney hotels have theming, but the depth of the theming varies according to where you're staying. So, for example, the Grand Floridian is themed to the 1920s. It's very subtle, but it is a very nice resort. By that same contrast, if you go to Pop Century, not subtle at all, but it is themed to the various decades from the 50s upwards. I like both of these. I'm not gonna lie. I like the theming. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to stay at like Pop Century. That's a fantastic experience. As a kid, they have giant characters and they have giant toys and stuff. I mean, like, huge part of the building. It's really cool. It's not something that I think you can get anywhere else, and it is entirely original to Disney. It is certainly worth at least one trip there just to see that, because it's such a cool feeling to look up and see like a giant Mickey Mouse, or, you know, a giant, over at All Star Movies, they have a giant Baloo from the Jungle Book. It's a really cool experience. And those rooms at those resorts are not specifically themed, but are themed to the hotel. Those are also really cool. They usually have posters inside and whatnot. It's a really unique staying experience, and one that I think most Disney fans can enjoy. Alright, next reason I think you should stay at a Disney World resort is the food courts. So, in a regular resort, in a regular hotel, you might find that there's a restaurant, if you're lucky. Otherwise, there might be some kind of limited room service. If any at all. A lot of hotels don't do that. Especially lower scale. You know, like if you're staying at a Super 8 or a La Quinta Inn, they don't do that. But at Disney, the value resorts like Pop Century have food courts. And then as you go up the chain, they also start to get restaurants and bars. But with food courts and the subsequent other dining options, you can eat at your resort. You don't have to worry about where you're going to get your meal from before you go to the parks or after. It's not... Usually the food courts, I believe, run usually an hour after park close at the very least. So you usually have time once you get back from when the park closes to pick up something to eat in your room or in the, you know, food court area, just in case you're hungry. I mean, sometimes you don't feel like eating in the parks. Sometimes you ate earlier than you normally would, so you feel hungry when you get back. It's just not a concern you want to have to deal with, especially if you have young kids or you and your party are just really, really tired. Take that worry away. The food courts provide really good food. It's usually very healthy now. There's usually soda machines in the lobby that you can get drinks from, especially if you have the refillable cups that they sell at the resorts. Overall, it's just nice to have that option when you need it. It's a great place, like I said, too, to pick up breakfast before you head out to the parks, because sometimes when you're in that mad dash, you know, you hit rope drop, you're trying to get on as many rides as you can before the crowds fill up. You just don't want to stop for breakfast. You don't want to deal with that hassle. And there aren't necessarily a lot of great breakfast options in all of the parks. There really isn't in Magic Kingdom, for example. So in that case, you may want to grab something before you go, and they usually have good options, you know, breakfast platters and stuff, bagels, things like that in the resorts. Another really cool aspect of this, tying into the food courts, is the Disney dining deals. So when you're booking your hotel stay, make sure that you or your travel agent is keeping an eye open for the Disney dining deals. The Disney dining plan allows you, if you get it as part of a package deal with your resort, you won't be paying any extra money in order to eat your meals. The idea here is that you're essentially trading your money to Disney for points. These points are then exchanged at the restaurants for your meals. Not gonna lie, on a normal day, this isn't necessarily the best value for you, because it doesn't always equate out to you using all the points. So, and unless you like get the transfer back, that you don't get the money from it, or sometimes it's just not equivalent to the exchange for money for what you're eating. That having been said, though, if you keep an eye out for the deals when you stay on Walt Disney World property, you can sometimes get them at cost, which makes it very effective for you to get the dining meals. You might actually end up saving money if you time it right. That's a bit of a hunt, I'm not gonna lie, and they don't offer them all the time. As a matter of fact, right now, they are offering no Disney dining plans. But when they start to, keep an eye out for it, because it could be a big money saver for you and your family. And the last reason that I think that you should stay at Walt Disney World on property, the extra park hours. Yes, this may seem like a really simple concept, but you wouldn't believe what that extra hour before the park opens for everyone else or after the park is closed for everyone else makes a difference. It makes a difference on ride times. It makes a difference on what food you might be able to eat or not. Because sometimes restaurants close or open at regular times. Some of them actually open a little bit earlier or later to be able to accommodate those people that are coming in or staying later. So you might be able to get a better position. Also keep in mind, if you're in there an hour earlier than everyone else, you are at the head of the line for places that even open regularly. Not to mention, you can be the first one on Pirates. You could be the first one on Rock and Roller Coaster. This can be a great way to make sure that you get at least within the proximity of being able to get on first for the ride that you really, really want to do. I think the only exception to that would be probably Rise of the Resistance, because that doesn't go by normal queue standards. With that thought in mind, though, those extra park hours can make a big difference to your vacation. And I think that's just about going to cover this list. Please let us know what you think you might want to do if you'd want to stay on Walt Disney World property and what resort you'd want to stay at. Please also don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a message from us. Please make sure to have a magical trip, and you guys have a great day.